This lecture is about the post-lab discussion for your prelim period. No, so we will be discussing four of our experiments. No, the first and second ones are regarding your plant and animal cells. No, so the objectives for this first experiment is to identify the key cellular components of plant and animal cells. So we've already discussed the structure in the functions of the different parts of the eukaryotic cell. No? So this time, we're focusing on two subsets of those eukaryotic cells, which are your plant and animal cells. No? And we want to compare and contrast the different structures that we find in these two types of cells under the light microscope. No? So what are the things that we use during the experiment? Of course, we use the light microscope. We used some slides, some cover slips, and some NSS to keep the specimens moist. No? So what specimens did we use? We took onion epidermis. So we cut up the onion and took a thin layer from the inside, no? And then we also took some human cheek cell samples by scraping the inside of your buccal cavity, no? And these two specimens were stained using two different staining agents. No? For the plant cell or the onion's epidermis, we used methylene blue. And for the animal cell, we used iodine. Okay? So, what were the observations that we noted under the microscope? So, for the plant cell, we viewed it under three different objectives. No, we initially used the scanner, then the low power objective, then the high power objective. So, in the scanner, we were able to initially visualize the overall structure and see that the plant cell wall is that the plant has a cell wall that is thick and that is clearly stained using the methylene blue. No, so using the methylene blue, you can clearly visualize the outline of each cell because it forms a stark contrast against the white background. No, so the first thing that you will see at the scanner level is the thick plant cell walls. No. And then, once you have shifted to the low power objective, you can now see greater detail the details of your individual cells. No? So, the nucleus will be easier to visualize because there is staining with methylene blue. So, it's a darker stained blue spot. And in some cells, you may also be able to see a large central vacuole. No? And then when you zoom in even further using the high power objective, you will be able to see more detailed view of the nucleus and the cytoplasm of the cell wall, and you may be able to visualize this large central vacuole. No, and if at this level there was staining done, there was further staining done, you may be able to visualize other organelles. Pero in our case of our experiment, syempre we weren't able to really clearly see that. No, so since we only used methylene blue, okay. Meanwhile, in animal cells, we use the human cheek cell, diba? We used we used a toothpick rather to scrape the inside of your oral cavity, yung sa loob, sa may buccal mucosa mo, yung sa loob ng cheek, no? So that is epithelium, that's squamous epithelium, no? So this animal cell, we viewed it and we placed it inside, we switched it on NSS and then we added iodine to make it easier to visualize, no? Kasi your animal cells are colorless when you viewed them without staining. So when you stain these animal cells with iodine, you will be able to more easily appreciate it. Kasi earlier, when we used plant cells, diba, you noted in your experiment, even if some of the places didn't get stained, you are able to easily see the structure of the plant cell because the plant cell has a thick cell wall. Pero in your animal cell, the staining with iodine is necessary because it's much harder to visualize. It will appear as clear structures lang, no? So, in the animal cell, we, of course, when you do microscopy, you start with the lowest objective. So, here we started with the scanner. We use the scanner to look around the specimen and visualize where your scattered polyhedral cells are located, no? And the thin edges of each cell, and you look for the edges of your each cell. So, the edges of each cell are thin in contrast to your plant cell wall, diba? That they have a thick cell. Your plant cells that have a thick cell wall, though. So, dito sa animal cells, since wala silang cell wall, we only have a cell membrane, the edges are less visually apparent in comparison, no? So, the thin edges of each cell denote the cell membrane. So, yung nucleus at this level, hindi pa siya super visible. You will see your nucleus in greater detail once you have shifted to the low power objective. So it looks like a darker spot within each cell, and you are able to also grasp more cytoplasmic details. And when it comes to high power objective, of course, syempre, as you go up in magnification, you see a more detailed view of the nucleus and cytoplasm. And the cell membrane becomes sharper and more defined. No? So mas makikita mo na siya yung borders niya, no? And if you do further staining or you use another stain, it may be you may be able to visualize other inclusion bodies and granules, no? So pero since we used basic stains lang dito, we do not expect to see too much of the cellular organelle level, no? So and we expect to see that we need more specific stains for that, no? So, what are the key differences you have to note between your plant and animal cells, no? So, alam natin that they are both eukaryotes. So, hindi na natin problemahin yung mga organelles in common nila. So, what do we note? We note the key differences, no? So, for your plant cells, as pagkita mo pa lang sa scanner, your cells are rectangular in shape and they are uniform looking, no? Kasi lahat sila parang box nun. Kasi you see that they have a cell wall, no? Sa animal cells naman, they are polyhedral and scattered, especially since you swish the sample on the NSS, no? So yun yung key difference nila, no? So, plant cell, makita mo, they are closely opposed to each other kasi meron silang cell wall, no? And then, the key different structures that you note in your plant cell is that there is a cell wall present which is responsible for maintaining the structure and the turgor pressure in plant cells. And then they also have the presence of chloroplast. Of course, we were not able to visualize this since this requires more complicated methods to see. There are chloroplasts present in your plant cells because your plant cells are able to undergo photosynthesis, no? And then plant cells also may have a large cytoplasmic vacuole present because this cytoplasmic vacuole functions for storage and maintenance of cell rigidity. Meanwhile, in animal cells, wala tayong cell wall na present, di ba? So, when you visualized it under the microscope, mas maninipis yung borders ng cell mo kasi cell membrane lang yung nakikita natin, no? Chloroplast is absent because animal cells are not able to undergo photosynthesis, and if there are vacuoles in your animal cells, they are usually small and temporary or more of vesicles lang sila, no? So, the methods that we used earlier, di ba? We stained your plant cell using methylene blue to highlight the cell wall and the nucleus. Kanina, before in our procedure, meanwhile, in animal cells, we used iodine to highlight the visibility of the animal cell. Okay? So, that's it for the first, for the experiment number 2. Diba? Yun yung experiment number 2 natin, no? So, the next one is regarding water and its properties. So, this one is experiment number 3, no? So, what are the objectives for this experiment? Sorry, hindi ko pala na-update to. So, this one. So, the objectives for this experiment is to recognize the ability of water to act as a universal solvent, no? So, and we also, the second part, we want to recognize water's role as an acceptable medium for biologic reactions, no? So, what did we use for these two experiments? For the first experiment, we used several solutes. You could have used salt, pero hindi natin nagawa ito. Pero the expected results will be discussed, no? Salt, sugar, gelatin, copper sulfate. In lieu of lard, we used butter and then ethanol. And the solvents that we used for each sets are your water and your carbon tetrachloride or your CCl4, no? For the second part of the experiment, yung water as a medium for biochemical reactions, we used the reagents citric acid and sodium bicarbonate, and we used water as a solvent kasi we will be using the water as a medium for this reaction, no? So, dun muna tayo sa purpose of your water as a universal solvent, no? So, in this experiment, we are dealing with the property of solubility. So, what is solubility? Solubility is the ability of solute to completely dissolve in a solvent, forming a homogeneous solution. So, ibig sabihin, pag dinesolve mo siya, hindi na mo na siya madidistinguish from the solvent, no? So, So solubility is dictated by the polarity of both solute and the solvent, no? So dito pumapasok yung principle na like dissolves like, no? Kapag polar yung solvent, it will dissolve polar solutes. Kapag non-polar yung solute, ang magdi-dissolve lang siya sa non-polar na solvent, no? So the two solvents that we used in this experiment were water and carbon tetrachloride, no? So for water, we know that water is a polar solvent with a high dielectric constant, no? So kaya alam natin that water is suitable in dissolving ionic as well as polar compounds kasi nga like dissolves like. Okay? Your carbon tetrachloride, on the other hand, is known as a non-polar solvent and it is often used to dissolve non-polar compounds. Kasi nga, like dissolves like. So, kung may madidissolve ka sa carbon tetrachloride, it should be a non-polar substance. Okay? So, what were the expected results? In the experiment, we used, di ba, several different solutes, no? We used salt, sugar, gelatin, copper sulfate, butter, yung in lieu of lard, and then your ethanol, no? So, ano naging result nito, no? Yung salt natin, expected natin to be soluble in water because of the ionic bonds formed, diba? Na and then Cl. And it's unlikely to dissolve in CCl4 because CCl4 is a polar solvent that is not able to dissolve your ionic compounds. Your sugar is expected to be soluble in water because of the polar covalent bonds in heat. And it's unlikely to dissolve in CCl4 because sugar is polar, your carbon tetrachloride is non-polar. Okay? And then your gelatin is slightly soluble, lalo na pag heated, but it is expected to have minimal solubility in carbon tetrachloride as well. Your copper sulfate is also ionic, so you expect it to be soluble in water and insoluble in carbon tetrachloride. And then your butter, the one sample here that is non-polar, is expected to be insoluble in water but soluble in carbon tetrachloride. Kasi yung butter mo or yung lard mo, if we use that, is a non-polar substance. So, pag non-polar siya, you expect it to dissolve in non-polar. So, yung non-polar dito is your carbon tetrachloride. Okay? Si ethanol naman, since this is liquid, we do not use the term soluble. We use the term miscible, no? So, your ethanol is a slightly polar substance, no? Meron siyang hydrocarbon chain, which is non-polar. Meron siyang OH group which gives it a slight polarity. Kaya yung ethanol, yung ethanol mo is actually miscible in water because of the slight polarity given by the OH group of your ethanol. Okay? So, your ethanol is also expected to be miscible in your carbon tetrachloride because it has a hydrocarbon chain, di ba? Meron siyang CH3, CH2 dun sa structure niya. So, which is a non-polar portion of your ethanol molecule. So, you expect your ethanol to be miscible in both water and carbon tetrachloride. Okay? Next, yung second part of the third experiment is the use of water as a medium for biochemical reactions. No? So, the reaction that we observe in this experiment is actually an acid-base reaction producing a salt, a water, and a gas. So, what reactants did we use? We use citric acid, sodium bicarbonate, and you add water later on, no? And so, the expected products for the reactions are sodium citrate, more water, and carbon dioxide. So, ano ba nangyari when we mix these two powders together, di ba? You had citric acid and sodium bicarbonate. So, as you can see in this reaction, no? Walang reaction initially when they are just powdered form. Kasi kailangan aqueous yung solution mo. So, kapag hindi aqueous, they will not react with each other. And how do you make it aqueous? Siyempre, you add water. When you add water to the citric acid and the sodium bicarbonate, naging aqueous na yung parehas na substance. And when they become aqueous, they will now form your sodium citrate, some water, and your carbon dioxide gas. So, this carbon dioxide gas is the one that appears as effervescence or fizzling and bubbling when you added water to this mixture. Okay? So, that's the discussion for the third experiment, yung water and its properties. So, now let's go to the fourth experiment, which is your carbohydrates, no? So for the experiment on carbohydrates, let's just have a quick recap on what carbohydrates are. Your carbohydrates are the most abundant bioorganic molecules on planet Earth. They are one of the 4 major biomolecules essential for life. So including so one of the 4, diba? Kasi we have carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acid. So one of the 4 is your carbohydrates. And your carbohydrates generally come from plants, no? Because your plants produce carbohydrates via photosynthesis, no? And the carbohydrates we see in plants are usually in the form of cellulose and starch. So in humans, we obtain these carbohydrates via dietary intake of plant materials. So okay, so your carbohydrates are actually classified according to the number of sugar units, or sugar units is the smallest possible carbohydrate there is, no? So pwedeng kapag isa lang yung sugar unit mo, you call it a monosaccharide. Kapag dalawa yung sugar unit mo, it's a disaccharide. Pag 3 to 10, it's oligosaccharide. Pag many sugar units make up your carbohydrate, you call that a polysaccharide, no? So, kapag isang sugar unit lang siya, you call it a monosaccharide. For example, your glucose, no? Your glucose, your galactose, and your fructose are some of your examples of your monosaccharides. When you link them together, you use a type of covalent interaction called a glycosidic bond. Pag pinagsama mo yung dalawang monosaccharide, you form a disaccharide. And then, your oligosaccharide is kapag pinagsama mo naman yung 3 to 10 monosaccharide units. Okay? And then you have your polysaccharide, which is when you put together many of your sugar units. Okay? So, pag mono, isa lang. Pag di, dalawa. And then oligo is 3 to 10, and then poly is many. So remember the examples of these different classifications. No? For monosaccharides, have your glucose, galactose, and fructose. Pag disaccharides, the famous examples are sucrose, which is a combination of glucose and maltose. Your lactose, which is a combination of galactose and glucose. And then your maltose, which is a combination of 2 glucose units. Okay? And then for oligosaccharides, you have raffinose, and stachyose. And your polysaccharides, which some of your examples are glycogen, cellulose, and starch. Okay? So, doon na tayo sa mga tests na ginawa natin sa experiment, no? You have your Molish test, no? So, your Molish test is a test for furfural and its derivatives, no? So, what is the principle of doing this Molish test, no? So, if you have a carbohydrate sample, when you treat it with concentrated sulfuric acid, dehydration will occur, giving rise to furfural derivatives. So, and these furfural derivatives from dehydration will condense with the alpha-naphthol found in your Molish reagent in order to form a purple product, which appears as a purple ring in your test tube, no? So, the reagent we used here is your Molish reagent. Siya yung nagko-contain ng alpha-naphthol. And then, your concentrated sulfuric acid, which will dehydrate your carbohydrate, no? So, the expected result if the sample contains a carbohydrate is the presence of a violet or purple ring, no? So, dun sa experiment natin, we used several different carbohydrates. So, we used glucose, xylose, lactose, and starch. And if you did the experiment properly, you would expect a purple ring at the junction of each of these carbohydrates. Dapat ang wala lang purple ring is the control tube, which only contains water. Kasi yung water na yon, wala siyang carbohydrate. So, dapat walang madedehydrate si sulfuric acid, walang magko-condense with alpha-naphthol. Okay? Next. So, after the Molish test, we also did Bial's Orsinol test. So, in this test, we use the Bial's reagent. So, your Bial's reagent contains orsinol, hydrochloric acid, and ferric chloride. So, the hydrochloric acid contained in your Bial's orsinol, Bial's reagent will react with pentoses. So, ito yung mga sugars natin that contains 5 carbons, no? So, it will react on sugars containing 5 carbons to form furfural derivatives. And these furfural derivatives will condense with the orsinol part of your Bial's reagent in order to produce a blue-green colored compound or more of bluish siya, no? So, for our experiment, we used xylose, glucose, and starch. And we expect the positive result to be seen in the tube containing xylose because xylose is a pentose, no? Xylose is a pentose sugar. Your glucose is a hexose sugar, so you do not expect it to turn up positive. And your starch is a polysaccharide. So, dito, ine-expect mo na magpa-positive for pentoses is your xylose-containing tube. Okay? Next, you have your Benedict's test, which is your test for reducing sugar. So, ito na yung next part ng experiment natin, no? So, Benedict's tests for reducing sugars, yung sugars that are able to reduce copper sulfate ions, yung mga cupric ions in copper sulfate to a cuprous oxide, no? So, if there is a reducing sugar, that reducing sugar will reduce the cupric ions to cuprous oxide. So, yung cupric ions, yung ions in Benedict's reagent, which is color blue, pag na-reduce yun, magiging mas red siya, no? So, yun yung expected natin color change mo, no? From blue to green to yellow to brown to orange red to red. So mula sa blue na color ng your Benedict's reagent, kasi your Benedict's reagent contains copper sulfate, sodium bicarbonate, and sodium citrate. So, color change, mag-change yung color depende sa amount of sugar, no? So, this Benedict's test can be used to detect the approximate concentration of sugar in the urine depende sa amount of color change there is, no? So, kapag mas mataas yung concentration ng sugar in the sample, mas malapit siya dun sa red end of the spectrum. Okay? So, for our examination, diba? For our experiment, diba? We used several different sugars, no? You used glucose, xylose, fructose, lactose, and sucrose. And all of the 4 test tubes, you expected to get brick red precipitate. So, pag nakakuha ka ng brick red precipitate, ibig sabihin, nag-4 plus siya. Ibig sabihin, there is a higher level of concentration ng isang reducing sugar. So, you can interpret this as these tubes having a reducing sugar. So, alam natin that glucose, xylose, fructose, and lactose are reducing sugars. They are able to reduce the cupric ions in copper sulfate to cuprous oxide, no? So, from naging bluish to naging brick red, no? Meanwhile, dun sa sucrose tube, you expect to not have any visible reactions. Kasi your sucrose does not have a free aldehyde group that can reduce the cupric ions in your copper sulfate in the Benedict's solution. So, you know that sucrose is a non-reducing sugar. Okay? So, yun yung tests for carbohydrates that we have discussed in the laboratory. So, we have discussed the second, third, and fourth experiment. So, yung first experiment naman natin is mainly the worksheet lang naman on the structure of your cells, no? Yung label the parts, what are the functions of each of the organelles. So, that one, kaya nyo nang I hope by now, alam nyo naman na kung ano yung different parts of the plant and animal cell. Hinapyawan na rin naman natin siya during the first part of this discussion, no? So, for the coverage of the lab pracs for prelims, we will cover activities number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So, that's it for this discussion, no? Thank you so much for listening and have a nice day.